Okay.
All right. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Monday, August 25th meeting of the Pine Bluffs Town Council. Will everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item is the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We have the public hearing for the liquor license application submissions, retail license. We have Naughty Pine Saloon, Pine Bowl, and Transwest Development. Bar and grill license, we have Curry's and Sadie's Cafe. And Satellite Distilling, we have WMC PVD LLC. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, on to the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? I only have one point. I think the building permit that's in there is, the building permit within the consent agenda I have connection to, so I'll be abstaining from that vote.
All right.
So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. On to new business. Item number 1, review and approve liquor licenses as mentioned earlier.
I move to approve the liquor licenses as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the liquor licenses as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, do we have to roll call that? It was a public hearing.
I don't think so.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2 is Resolution 2025-13 and Addendum A to the resolution. It's a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the warranty deed and any other final closing documents for the sale of property located on Addendum A, Prairie View subdivision in Pine Bluffs, Laramie County, Wyoming.
I move to adopt resolution 2025-13 and addendum A.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 2025-13 and addendum A. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Resolution adopted. Item number 3 is review and approve. A new checking account is requested to continue providing support to the Pine Bluffs Veteran Memorial Brick Program. Maybe Kim could.
Yes, so the American Legion Post 60 has determined that it would be in the best interest if they relinquished possession of the brick program to the Patriots Group. They have a long, the the individuals in the Patriots group have had a long-standing history of working with the people who want to purchase bricks, and with the brick engraving company and setting up the events. For that reason, they have turned the funds that they had in their brick program account over to the town. They provided a check to the town in the amount of $5,797.88, along with all the bank records that go back for several years. I have this as an agenda item because in order for us to open an account for this brick program, I need your approval, and I would like to also recommend that the signatories on this account be the same as our signatories on all of our other accounts. For segregation of duties within our office, I am one signatory, and Renee Lovett is the other, and the mayor is also a signatory. So again, just permission to open an account for this program. I'd like to keep it a separate account and not in with our pooled cash, so that it is just a very, it's separated from all other town funds for accounting and auditing purposes.
So to be clear, we're handling the monetary portion of the.
We will handle the monetary portion. We're in the
Memorial.
process of developing an MOU so that the Patriots group will handle all of the operations of that brick program.
That's funded by donation.
It's funded by the purchase of a brick, so, and then there's a little bit extra in there in each brick purchase, so that when a new brick stand needs to be constructed, there's funding to cover the cost of that as well.
So how many outstanding bricks need to be made? Do you have any idea?
At this time, I don't think there are any, because they just had the bricklaying ceremony during Trail Days.
Okay.
And so all current bricks were installed during
But how
Trail
many
Days.
do you know of any that need to be ordered?
So they
I
all,
don't
For out
know
of
at
the
this
5,000?
point.
Because I was
that-
of the impression that there was a number of them that had put money down on them, and bricks hadn't been, that they hadn't proceeded on to get the bricks made.
to the
Oh,
best
okay.
of my knowledge, anything that probably wasn't able to make it on this year's program has probably been on hold. But frankly, they have
Yeah.
several months to accomplish getting them
Yeah.
for the next,
Out of curiosity,
ceremony.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Just was curious, what does a brick cost?
There are two different sizes, so I think one is $50. Do you by chance know what the cost of the bricks are?
50 and 100.
50 and 100. So the small 4x8 is the 50, and the larger one is 100. So, again, both entities kind of worked through the town to come up with this plan. And we agreed to handle the financial piece of it.
I think it's a good solution.
I move to approve opening a checking account to handle the business of the Pine Bluffs Veterans Memorial Brick Program with Kim, Renee, and Mayor Vornstrom as the signatories.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the opening of a new checking account for the Pine Bluffs Veteran Memorial Brick Program. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4 is the discussion of regarding the new railroad crossing and the silent crossing. First of all, I'd like to say I'm thrilled that I think it was a little later than we'd all hoped, but here it is. We're finally here and it's open, and it's an adjustment its location is an adjustment, but you no longer jar your teeth going across it, so that's a benefit for sure. It's very nice, but anyway, happy to have it open. That being said, I think we were all under the understanding that it was a silent crossing, and quickly we have discovered that that's not the case, and there are some internal things that we may or may not want to do, depending on our discussion to make that happen, or not. And so I just thought it would be a good idea to discuss some of the potential issues. My understanding is we either have most, if not all, of the infrastructure to accomplish that, maybe not all, but we have a lot of the base infrastructure, which typically makes a silent crossing expensive to retrofit, was built into the system, so that's a good thing. And I think, and I would ask Alex to speak to this, but one of the things I didn't realize, and I know you have all read it, but just to state it, is that the town of Pine Bluffs choosing to make that a silent crossing potentially transfers liability from the railroad to the town of Pine Bluffs for the fact that we've decided to make it a silent crossing, and any increased danger that might be associated with. Now, I'm getting that right off of their stuff. I don't know if that's a particular concern to all of us, if we'd like to pursue it and use that as a extra, I guess, decision point in addition to whatever the financial decision point is, but maybe Alex could speak to that.
I did not see this, but I have some experience dealing with the UP. I would just say that whatever's put out, we should check against the CFRs. But, I mean, there's some logic there, of course.
I think was that a YDOT document that
No,
expressed
it's
that, or was it a UP document?
RFA, or FRA.
Federal
This one?
Railroad Administration.
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember who produced the document, but
Were we thinking in lieu of having the trains sound their horn, that we would put like a wayside horn at the crossing, like an electronic horn? Or just have it be silent entirely?
Either's an option. You could put the wayward horn, and that would be one of the requirements to qualify it for a silent crossing. But we also have those medians, so that would automatically qualify it as well.
Obviously, a wayside horn, it's an electronic device, could have the ability to fail. I think that's triggered, is it triggered by the track? Is it triggered by the engineer? How do those?
I think it would be triggered when the arms come down. There's a
Okay.
certain timing to that's what I would guess, but
But then you're
Frankly.
still not entirely, silent. You still have,
Correct.
I mean, I think, yeah,
I know the city of Torrington uses the electronic ones, and they're much quieter. They have several crossings through Torrington, and at least two. And I find those to be much quieter than a train, and less objectionable than a train sounding its horn.
well, I think I should also say some of this came up, obviously we have, well, technically if they quit blowing the horn at Main Street, we have the same number of horns as we've always had, but it's impacting people differently at different locations than they're used to, so it's quite a surprise to some, and, you know, it's not an issue that I'd considered, because I thought it was going to be the other way, so I think we just have to decide whether we want to pursue, you know, Leanne, your sense about how much time investment it is to,
I don't think it would be a lot of time for me to pursue it farther and do the notice of intent to the railroad. I think my biggest concern is, at this point, shifting the liability issue. But I feel like with those medians, you would have to intentionally cross over. I mean, it wouldn't be an
well,
accident.
you would have a bad wheel when you were.
Yes,
I mean, they're built
yeah.
in a
So, I
inverted
mean,
manner.
and honestly, how many accidents have we had at Main Street in the last 30 years? Very few.
And it's really blind.
But I also think, depending on the direction of travel of the train, especially westbound trains prior to moving the crossing, some of these buildings were shielding the public from some of the horns a little bit, and now it's completely out in the open, and
I mean, I'm willing to dig into it further and see what we need to do, but I need to make sure that's what you guys want me to do.
So at this point, what we would be asking is for you to just investigate,
Yes.
like extra cost,
Yeah, timing, how long
yeah,
it would take.
yeah,
and-
any extra work that might need to be done.
Yeah.
Right, so,
so from that standpoint, do you think, Alex, would you say maybe we ought to look at that hurdle first before you spend a lot of time investigating it?
I think so.
I think we've seen, you know, they give a range of costs in there, but I also think some of those costs are starting with an old crossing that has nothing, and they're retrofitting a 4-lane highway versus what we're doing, and so it may be, well, it's hard for me to make any decision without knowing the cost, the rough estimate of what it is, so.
I agree.
It doesn't look like from the National Railroad Administration's website that it's not a slam dunk. There are several steps we have to meet. And there's qualification regarding like noise threshold. And I haven't looked at that to see how that plays in, but they talk about a quiet zone risk index, and there's a tool to use to determine whether you would automatically qualify or not. But if you don't meet this noise index rating, then you may not qualify at all.
Yeah, I started doing that. There's a calculator, but I didn't want to dig too deep until I knew that, you know, you have to set up an account and everything, and I thought, I don't want to yet.
Well, if we need action, I would move to have Leanne go through the next steps to, I guess, investigate what is best on the silent versus sounded crossing.
Second.
Moved and seconded to proceed with the investigation of the silent crossing. Any other discussion?
Just that I think it is good to explore, because if we're looking to get people in the north property, that'll be another whole group who's also impacted in a way that
Yeah,
they
We
wouldn't have
haven't
been.
thought about,
So it's probably worth
Yeah.
exploring for that alone.
yeah,
That's true.
I agree.
Any other comments, discussion? None, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. On to visitor comments. Department reports.
Nothing to report?
I was just gonna mention that I went to the WMPA summer meetings this last week. Our electricity continues to be problematic is the wrong word, but it's a very volatile and I don't know how to describe it, but it's hard to pinpoint rates and things like that at this time. We know what our rates for next year are going to be, or WMPA sets their rates on the same calendar, or the same fiscal year as we do. Base and electric that provides most, a good percentage of our power, sets rates on an annual basis. So there's some disconnect there, but we have agreed in the meeting to use rate stabilization to hold our rates as advertised for the year through June 30th. So as our rates will definitely be reviewing and likely increasing rates, we're going to kick the can a little bit further based on what we're seeing for rate increases from Basin, at least for an extra 6 months, and then maybe we kind of figure out where we're at. And but I will once again mention that we're going to see rate increases without any question over the next several years. So, not the greatest news ever, but.
I was just wondering, when was the last time we did a rate study?
We just completed a rate study, and at the September 8th meeting, you will all have a resolution presented to you for a review for a rate increase for our electric.
We've done a couple since I've been here, I think.
Yeah, the last one we did, I believe, was in 2021.
That seems about right.
We
So
were
this,
technically due for it
Yeah.
last year, but it was held off because of the rate study that was being conducted through WAMPA.
so Wampa hired a firm to do the rate study for every community in the system. I'm not gonna lie, that's been a struggle. First of all, it's fairly sophisticated, so that's a struggle from the beginning, but this company is, I would say, is struggled to deliver, and we're currently waiting on the end of it. But we did do a cost of service study this time, which I think pointed out some things that we could share with you. Cost of service looks at, I know Dave knows this, but would look at what it costs to serve a particular type of customer, rather than just looking across the board and applying, say, a rate increase to every customer category. So it tries to drill down and see what it's costing to serve industrial customers versus residential customers. And so, from memory, Kim could correct me on this, since we've only seen it online, it was pretty interesting, and I think we learned a few things, but currently we are struggling to get it in our hands. So as soon as we get that will help.
It's talked about, I think it was the initial was, I think, 4.5% for this first increase, but it was stepped over, I think, 3 years, stepped over 3 years to get us to 9%, but that doesn't take into consideration any other future increases.
Yeah, and I think that's probably not gonna quite cut it.
Yeah,
But 4.5 is kind of where we were at this year.
4.5 is what we budgeted for.
But I think we're gonna massage that. I mean, one of the things that we understand after doing that is that, some of the classes were needed a really big increase and some needed no increase at all. And we're not gonna massage that out of it in a year or
Right.
2 years. We're gonna try to work towards getting to that, I think would be the objective but it's hard to dig into without having information in front of you. I understand that, so.
Well, we have some electric infrastructure needs too, that
Yeah.
we probably need to consider in those rates, I would imagine.
Well, I think that's one of the concerns I have is that we may have at different points, different years along the way, we may be in a position to absorb some of these things, but currently, given our infrastructure's not terrible, but we always need to keep up with that. And currently where we are, we need to factor that into, we can't really afford to absorb the rate increase and still upgrade our system, so. Anyway, that's all I had, fun stuff.
I guess the question then is, what's most palatable to members of the community is, do you introduce a smaller rate increase and just keep stepping? Or if you hold off, then you run the risk of, you might be off, might be faced with a double-digit number or close to that, or double the amount too, which would be a lot harder to swallow all at once, so it's a catch-22.
And I think you're seeing that a lot industry-wide where people are playing catch-up, and I think my personal opinion is either way is difficult and everyone has a different opinion, but stepping into it. And I wish I could say it was 4.5% and we're gonna do 1.5% over the next 3 years and we're gonna get there, but I'm afraid it's going to be 4.5, 4.5, 4.5 or something. But we don't know that for sure. We're waiting for this tool to be able to identify that for ourselves, but we do know the initial one is going to be something.
What does it look like, the disparity between customers? Which ones are low, which ones are high? Where's the majority of the adjustment gonna need to be made?
Well, if you were to take it all at once, the majority of the adjustment would need to come from residential customers. They're based on cost of service, they're getting a better deal than
Being
commercial,
subsidized.
Then I was wondering.
than commercial customers. And I think the thing always is it's very common to do across the board rate increases, but barring having a cost of service study, what else do you do? So you
Yeah.
kind of get out of whack on that a little bit, and this will allow us to maybe get that in line. So I don't remember the specific numbers as proposed, but we're gonna take a little bit out of each and try to start getting them in a way. We've also, I think we're gonna end up this for another time, I guess, but we've currently got multi-tiered rate structure, which was popular several years ago, which encouraged, was more about the more energy you use, the cheaper it got. And I think we've eliminated those tiers out of the system just because it's not generally accepted practice in most utilities at this point to provide multiple levels. Because frankly, the industry doesn't care anymore how much energy you've used. They care what your demand is.
That's
Like
what I was
how
gonna
you're-
say, are any of the residential meters demand meters? Are we billing demand on on residential?
But I
or-
think
There's
that's,
very few, there's like 2.
Is that right?
But-
Is that the direction that we're gonna have to go though to make it all work?
that is exactly where the industry's
So
gonna
like
go.
if you have an electric vehicle and you're plugging in during peak, your demand's gonna go way high.
It's crazy how much of your, cost of electricity is determined over a 1 hour period during the month. Like, when you hit the peak, that's what the bulk of your billing comes from. And so from WMPA's end, we've been trying to identify those and do some kind of test markets where we really encourage people for this 4-hour window, i.e. the town. We're not encouraging individuals, but like the town, hey man, don't pump water up the hill during these 4 hours, and let's see what kind of impact we can make. And it hasn't been terribly successful, I will say, like the town of Pine Bluffs in July, I think it was July, was able to do, we've done difference at different points, been more successful than others, but when you start looking at it, like on that particular month, everyone across the board did not do well in the entire system, but the numbers start to add up. Like it made not being able to control it during that period to see a decrease in demand was $1,850 it cost the town of Pine Bluffs during that period. And so these things are starting to get nuanced and how you really control it is you get the meters on the individual meters to look at demand and really start to encourage customers by cheapening up their bill if they can do their own load control, which helps everyone save money. But it's easy enough to say, hey, could we all try to do our best between these hours of not using electricity? But it's just that's really tough. I'm the same guy that's like, well, when when that occurs is at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a 102-degree day, and I would go home and look at my lawn and feel bad for it, and maybe just 10 minutes per zone on the sprinkler to cool it back down would be good. I mean, I do things like that. That's like not sensitive to the issue, but plenty of people do things like that. I mean, I understand that that's water and we're talking about electricity, but if everyone does that, then we're draining the water tanks and we're pumping water back up to the water tanks during this peak period. And so, I don't know.
I do think though that we could maybe make people aware of that, because I, for one, I'm not completely sure
When
when we ought to be targeting, because I would program my thermostats to not let the AC come on during
yeah,
given intervals if I knew that was the objective that we were trying to target. I'd make the effort to do that, and I think a lot of other people would too. But no one, if you're
If you don't
totally
know, you
ignorant,
don't
you
know.
just go about life and you do whatever.
well, our tests have thus far been to see if we could make a difference from a town perspective, but
But I
yes,
think
for
we should
sure.
encourage the rest of the citizens of,
I think the difficult part is, for instance, in your business, and I just pick one aspect of it, you have certain things to accomplish. You don't work on a 24-hour schedule. If you worked on a 24-hour schedule, I would say, hey, can you do your electro polishing at night?
yeah,
And maybe you do some of that, I'm just
we
saying.
do some of that, yes.
I'm saying that would be much more, that's a high draw item that's probably would reduce the load on the system from 3 to 6 o'clock at night, you know, or whenever the peak's coming,
Yeah.
so. You're right about that, and that's something to take to them, is even if we're just kind of doing tests right now, we should be getting the information out there to see.
But I'm sure there's a lot of people would be willing to reprogram their thermostat to where the AC's not kicking on at particular hours, cause that's not a huge factor.
That's the really difficult part, is to get people to stretch it during, I mean, there's a reason it's the peak load time, is because everyone comes home from work and they're hot and they wanna start cooking dinner and they wanna, you know, they're accomplishing a lot of things during that time period. But you're right about the other thing too, is this, you know, the EV charging thing, something's gotta be done eventually to encourage people to EV charge during an appropriate
Yeah,
time.
do it in the middle of the night or something.
Currently, our rate structure is set up where it doesn't matter when you charge it, you're gonna pay the same. So,
I think if you need to educate residents, Rosemary a few years ago had done those series, I think kind of helping us prepare for this day. So she had done a handful of presentations, and you could jump on and she would explain some of this, and some of it felt kind of high level, but I know that there was one specifically on like homes and demand charges and times of day like the best times of day to do certain things, and so maybe that could be helpful, her kind of
yep.
documentation on that.
Merrick, to what extent, if you know, is this movement toward demand determination and pricing being driven by, you know, most of the new power being non-base power, you know, like wind energy and solar and that kind of thing? Because demand is a real issue with those sources.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I would say that's probably two ways, and Dave can probably speak to this too. I think it's somewhat that, but I think it is, you know, however that contributes to the physics of running a system, you know, that's a problem, and trying to, you know, meet the demands of I'm trying to think of a good way to say this. You're absolutely right. The more renewables you put on the system, the higher reserve margin you have to have built into your system to account for them not running. Mm-hmm. So I don't think this is, for instance, in a system that we work within now is, let's say, 5,500 megawatts. The built-in reserve margin needs to be, you need to have verifiable delivery of power, whether it's firm contracts or your own power supply of like 8,600. That's the difference between the peak and what you have to have based on the fact that they're not operating, they can't necessarily operate at 96% efficiency or whatever. You can't necessarily depend on them to be there when you need them. Because frankly, wind turbines produce power all night long that no one needs, I think. And that's not a statement of whether or not we need wind, but it's not helpful at night. There's not that much consumption, so you're factoring in all of these extra megawatts of production to compensate for I mean, every particular source has some percentage of their product that's reliable. And as you work down the line into renewables, they're much, not much worse, they're drastically worse. But it doesn't mean they're not good, it just means it's different. You have to account for that in the system. So there's a lot of overbuilt production out there to account for that.
I think we're seeing less margin than we had 5-10 years ago because our demand for power just keeps increasing. And let's face it, you're not getting new coal-fired power plants permitted. And it's pretty hard to get new gas-fired power plants permitted. So we're adding load at an exponential rate, but we're not adding the generation to meet that load. So there's less power to go around. That means the power we do have is worth more.
And there's a huge amount of push to continue to electrify too.
And if you think about it this way, in order to meet those demands, this is what's hitting us, I would say, without question, hitting everyone, but. So if I have 25% equity in something, my company, my utility company has 25% equity in anything they do, and so I go to the market and I borrow 75 cents of every dollar to go build a new gas plant or whatever. Well, we're doing that, but somebody's paying for the 25 cents. Like, even if you can recover the 75 cents over the long term with bonds or in the financial markets, somebody's paying for the 25 cents up front. And that's, I think, why you're seeing rates. It's the demand is requiring new build to the extent, it's hard to new build, but to the extent that we're building, that's just requiring a lot of capital, and that capital is paid for by ratepayers. So, I don't know. Now I've said a lot of stuff about things I probably don't know about, but I do my best. So. All right, Ally.
Not a whole lot on the land front. We have a regional meeting on September 18th. I think Leanne sent out an email. There's still some time if you're available. It's, I think, at 5 o'clock at the WAM office. And there's still time to get in on that, so if you have any questions, Leanne can help facilitate that, or so can I.
September 18th, you said?
Yes.
That's Thursday?
Yes. Trying to really stretch my brain to
Do you know when that is?
I believe it's at 5, let me double check. And then they're just working through some interim stuff, trying to figure out what we have headed our way in session, which could be interesting. I think we'll be fighting for direct distribution, we already know that. It is at 5, from 5 to 7 at the WAM office on the 18th. So we'll be fighting for direct distribution or some sort of workaround that is hopefully more stable, but I think at the same time we're looking at the possibility of it doesn't exist anymore. So no one really knows. Public records have been a huge topic of discussion, and our ability to be members of WAM with public funds is also kind of at the forefront. If it doesn't go through Corporations and Elections Committee, which it doesn't look like they'll take forward a committee bill at this time, It will likely come through someone else as an individual bill. It does appear that that will be a topic of discussion. And Kim and I have talked about this because I was fact-finding myself, and currently, our dues of WHAM cost each resident $1 per year. So.
They get a lot more out of it.
And we get so much more out of it than $1 per resident. So, in case you ever happen to talk to one of our fearless leaders, there's just a little bit of information for you.
Which I believe District 6 is getting a new one now.
Yeah, so we're all, no one really knows how that's going to shake out at this time, but
It's been a little clandestine. Sorry. that's-
it will, yeah, I mean, it's something to think about, that hopefully we have someone who we can have these honest discussions with, for sure.
Dennis,
Nothing.
Alex, Austin?
Been talking to Kim a little bit, but I just wanted to, we're not quite there, obviously, but wanted to kind of throw the little nugget about speed limit zones in the new subdivision, whether it be 25 or 30. Didn't want to start the conversation now, but just wanted to kind of throw that out there. My personal opinion would be 25, just because of the dirt and not being paved. I think 30 would be throwing a lot of dirt out there, and just, you know.
I need to just, I don't know if you've talked this afternoon, but I need to have that discussion with you.
Okay.
Because we can't, I mean, I will have the discussion with you. There are statutes regarding that. We need to follow those, so. But there are things we can do to look into changing that too, but I think you should spearhead that. And, so I'll get with you tomorrow or sometime about that.
Sounds good.
Just out of curiosity, North Main, what is the speed limit there?
30.
30? You don't have any signs out there? Either direction?
We just talked about that the other day.
Yeah, yep.
We're looking at getting signs out there.
Based on traffic patterns, I think we need signs.
I,
Yeah.
Well, there's,
yeah, anyway, that's,
there's state statutes that address what a town's speed limit
30.
is. And to change it and deviate from it, you have to have traffic studies.
Right.
And so you're either following the state statute or you're,
Yeah, it's amazing how they dig into that, but they have, and so that's the rules we live under, and so we need to look at that. We have some other probably existing issues around town that we can have them dig into as well. I mean, if we're doing any kind of studies, they can surely study more than one street at a time. So, not to jump on your topic here, but we just had that discussion today, and while I appreciate what you're saying, I think 30 is a fair number, but we can discuss it. Does anybody else have any?
I think to deviate from 30, you have to have a traffic study.
Yes.
So,
For sure.
and I have no idea what traffic studies cost, or
I'm sure the state will do it for free.
they will.
I don't.
Dream on.
have no idea about that. But at the same time, I feel like it's our duty to take another swing at Highway 30. If we're going to have a traffic study, that we can revisit Highway 30 and they can likely tell us no again, and we can let it die for another 10 years, but we should at least ask.
agreed.
So, all right, great, thanks. Leanne?
I don't really have any updates. I will at the next meeting. I'll go through the silent crossing and I'll I'll get it all detailed for you guys, try and figure out costs and everything, so.
Thanks.
I'll have more updates.
Thank you.
Great. Kim?
As you know, we are working through some modifications to the contract on the north property. And one of those modifications would be to the road heights, which could, while we don't have final pricing, which could potentially raise our contract price initially by upwards of $200,000. And that, it won't necessarily mean that our overall budget will be exceeded by 200,000 because we are looking at some reductions in other areas where we didn't spend as much money. So with that said, we need permission to move forward with these adjustments to the road heights. And I just want to be sure that everybody is on board with that officially.
We need
Do you need an
official
action?
action. Would we need official action to make an adjustment?
Well, when we get a contract, we'll have to approve it. Probably be a change order.
This will be a
won't it?
change order to the contract, yeah.
I mean,
So just approve the change order to the.
I think we'd have to approve the change order
Okay.
when it comes before the governing body.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I, for one, am on board with it.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Okay. And then at our last meeting, we were talking about the lot price negotiations, and Alex's suggestion was that we have like a little mini committee, so we don't have to run it through every, a council meeting every 2 weeks for the lot negotiations with customers. With that said, I think that we probably don't need any more than 3 people on this committee. Would you say so, Alex?
I would suggest 2 from the governing body
Yes.
and then a third person.
Okay.
And the reason being, if you get 3, then you've
have to
got a
public
quorum and
notice
you
it
gotta
every
announce
time.
it as a meeting,
Yeah.
so.
Got it, but that's, I guess
Yeah.
my suggestion was going to be the mayor, myself, and 1 member from the from the town council.
Yeah.
Is that acceptable?
Yeah, I think that
Okay.
would be helpful.
I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, and when we do these negotiations, Alex, is it okay if a lot of these happen electronically?
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
sure, that's the way it's gonna happen,
got it.
whether
Thank
you
you.
want it to or not.
Okay.
And what, I think what you're envisioning there would be, an offer comes in writing, standard war form or something.
Yes,
And then you respond to that with a counter offer, and that's how
Correct.
you arrive at a, yeah.
Great.
that's all I needed for this meeting, and we are still working on updates to some ordinances, so just a reminder, I know that this isn't at the top of your to-do list, but we had a couple of other ordinances that we requested feedback on that we would like to get into play here in, maybe this winter sometime, so if you could look at those, they were the stormwater ordinance and the sewer ordinance. And that feedback would be needed for our next workshop, which will not be until the 2nd meeting in September.
So the only thing I have with regard to that is, I reviewed what Dave sent in. I didn't find anything in there that was objectionable to me. I
Oh, on the
guess.
zoning one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't either.
And I assume if you sent it, you liked what you sent, so.
It was a first draft, and I figured there would be comment on it.
I didn't,
I was
I
prepared for that.
kinda like the 50% rule on where they had to be. I mean, the only thing that I think's a bit unclear is your, I think you tell me, as intended, the 50% was not the number used to calculate how many acres you had. Was your whole property used to calculate the number of acres, or the amount of property you could use for said process?
Well, if you could clarify which point you were referring to.
That 50% of the property could, the back 50% of your property could house these animals.
Yeah, I think.
So, but you were using the entire property for the number.
I was, yeah, and that would be open to discussion, you know.
I just wanted to clarify if that's what you were getting at.
In interest of us, the concerns that I heard about, you know, maybe having somebody having goats on their front lawn and it be objectionable to the neighbors, if you relegated the farm animals to the backyard portion or the back half of the lot, it might be more palatable to neighbors who don't really want to look at goats in somebody's front yard. So, but yes, as far as the number of animals per lot, I was calculating the whole lot for that.
Okay, no, that's fine. I don't have any other questions about it. Anybody else?
Mayor, I think I got left off the email list for those.
Oh,
If you're working on those things, it's a lot more efficient time-wise if we can kind of track them as you go, rather than wait until everybody's kind of decided things and then you feel like a bum coming in and saying, well, you shouldn't do this or that and the other thing, you know, so.
do you want
That's
to
my
forward them
fault.
to him?
Yes,
Alex, I apologize. I mostly was just putting it out there to
No,
let people look at.
no, it's not a problem. I just think that'd be a more cost-effective way, at least from our perspective, to kind of, you know, work with it.
We'll get that over to you.
All right, anything else? Meetings and announcements. Regular town council meeting Monday, September 8th, 2025 at 6 p.m.
I will not be here for that one.
I will not either.
Dennis? you
I'll be
good?
here.
Okay.
Yeah, I was starting to get a little sketchy.
Family reunion.
Okay,
I move to enter executive session for matters of real estate.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to enter an executive session for real estate. All those in favor?
Aye.
Come on.